Okay, everybody, welcome back. This is episode 2. Last time we looked at the number line, and we also looked at, negative numbers over to the left are the smaller numbers, and as you go further to the right, you get bigger. The positive numbers over to the right, vice versa. We also looked at how to solve problems with integers and the rules for that. Now take that as a building block for this one episode. Because as promised, we're going to be talking about, we're going to be looking at an acronym. Now acronyms are basically words that you use. They could be written across, they could be slanted, they could be written up and down. But they're basically words, and all the letters at a word, all the letters of that word symbolize other words. They're very, very versatile for, remembering certain concepts or ways of doing things, or steps in a mathematical equation, because they're very, very useful in mathematics. And that is going to come into play with what we're going to be talking about today. And that is going to be order of operations. And I am going to be writing that down here up on the board for everybody. So, that is going to be the big topic of today. Order of operations. Let's actually just clear that right away. Order of operations. I guess I could do better, make that a little bit better in slanty. So I'm going to write order of operations up on the board here. Okay. So, order of operations means the order in which you solve certain parts, certain equations, certain problems, like 6 plus 9, of an even larger thing that is going to narrow down, until you have your final answer. So that's what order of operations is. And what we will use for that is PEMDAS. Or please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. That's another thing that you hear with this. But before we do, let's actually take a step back. Well, actually, let's not. So, let's just look at all the letters, and let's just look at all the steps. So, I'm going to number them. This is step 1, the E is step 2, M is step 3, 4 is the D, 5, 6. So those 6 steps. So once you're completely done with one number, one letter, then you move on to the next one. Once you're completely and utterly cleared out of the part which includes this letter, then you move on to the next thing. If the equation doesn't have, 1 or 2 things, then you just skip down, but you cannot not go in order, and you have to get everything done. This is the order that you follow when you're going through these types of equations. So I'm just going to write just the symbols of it out. Just the symbols. So the P stands for parentheses. What are parentheses? They look like this, and I'm sure that you've seen them. Little, an intro, cave-in, and then you have your equation or your final number here, like 5 plus 6, and then you answer it, and you draw the line, and you can even, the answer could be in parentheses or not, but these are what they look like. You always start out with the parentheses. You always get that cleared out of the way first. Then you move on to your next letter, which is the E. And the E stands for exponents. What are exponents? Well, exponents look something like 2. You have your number, and you have a little number up at the top right-hand corner, which is this number here, which is 4. So this number up here determines how many times you multiply this number here. So the 2 is determined by the 4. So we have 2, and we are multiplying it 4 times. So there's 4 2's. So this would equal 2 to the 4th power, as they would say, would simply be 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. And this is kind of something that will prepare you, and this is a little introduction for what these order of operations will look like. So when you have, I'm just kind of giving things away here. So when you have, 2 or more of the same equation, particularly if it's narrowed down enough and right next to each other, you always go from left to right first. So left and then right, and then you include everything. So you're going to see. So it should look, your order of operation should look like a backwards pyramid or a backwards triangle. So it is going to look like something like this. So you're going to see how this is going to look. So let's actually start out with drawing the line here. So 2 times 2. You can do 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. You probably audibly know what the right answer is in your head, but we're going to do it the visual way, because you couldn't do that when you were solving a real order of operations problem with say more than one type of equation. And definitely you definitely want to show your work, because naturally that's how our brains work, is being able to see the concrete visual. So 2 times 2 would be 4. We have this cleared out of the way, so we could just cross that out, I guess. Then you still have the times 2 times 2 left, so what do? We just drop that down, as you can see. So kind of see what I'm talking about, by the backwards triangle. Okay, then what do you do now? You just do the same thing from left to right. So what do you have left? 4 times 2 times 2. You start out with the 4 times 2, which would be 8. Okay, we cross that out. But you still have the 8 times 2. We're not going to cross that out, obviously, when we're doing it, but that's just a little, intro visual there for you to see. So 8 times 2, just drop down the times 2, is 16, and that is the answer. So 2 to the 4th power equals 16. So exponents is the next thing that you do. If a problem doesn't have it, move on to the next thing. Just skip to the next thing. And the next thing is, it's going to be actually 2 things. So the first thing is multiplication. So the symbols for multiplication look like an X. Remember that that's, even bigger than addition. So it's basically like addition on steroids, I guess you could say. And then you put your little dot. When you're doing, particularly when you're doing problems with a lot of, variables like letters in math, you'll have a tough time, separating the, the variable from, you actually, how you're solving the equation. And that when you have, say, number right next to parentheses, you multiply, or number right next to a variable, you multiply, like 2x. Well, that would be 2, times 1, I would say. So these are your visuals for that. You do any multiplication, every single multiplication problem that you can. If they're separate, then it probably doesn't matter, which side that you do them on. But if they're right next to each other, you obviously do them left to right. Then we move on to the next step, which is any division problem.
You need to start thinking about your work.
Here, I'm doing this right now. Okay, so we have the division. Okay, so it looks something like this. So subtraction, but it is the number in between. You have one part of the problem, and then you have another, you have your answer, so what's in between there. So then we have the little slash, and then another symbol would be this, as you can see right here if you're not, seeing this accurately enough here. So this visual right there for longer problems. So then the next step, the A, then you move on to the next thing. The A is adding. It is adding. So what you are adding, any addition problems, and you know addition, it gets bigger. Then after you do that, you move on to any subtraction problems, and then after that, if you clear it in every subtraction problem, you will have your answer. So let's just start out with one type of example, and you're going to see how this is going to go. So we're not going to be including really, any variables or any decimals into this at all. So let's start out with 2 times 3 plus 12, and then the parentheses is going to be 7 minus 5. Okay, so we have this equation here. And I could go through every general type of equation here. But that's not the point of this, because, I will include everything, in it, a certain point, but not, in every problem, but all this will get included in. You'll see what I'm talking about. I can't put it into the words exactly. But I can't show you every type of, problem, every single, problem that there is. I'm just showing you the steps so that you can see the general stages of how it works, and you can apply it to any problem, and you will be golden when you solve it. Particularly if, your problem is a lot bigger, and you have to, keep track of everything, but I think that you will all be fine. So again, we'll draw the model of the backwards triangle actually when we're done, and you're going to see that. So 2 times 3 plus 12, parentheses, 7 minus 5. So we start out with the parentheses. That's the very, very first thing, because we're starting here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Start here. Think of, the letters. If you switch letters around, then the word will not make sense. So that is why this is so wonderful. This, acronym is so wonderful. So we start out with the P, which is parentheses. Let's look. Can we find any parentheses here? Yes, we can. So 7 minus 5. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. And we know that because, 7 and 5 are only 2 places away. So it's 7, 6, 5 on a number line right there. So that's your little indicator, and you immediately know what the answer is. It's kind of a cheat way to know what that is. So then we draw the line here, and we drop down every other thing. So any number right next to parentheses, that means multiplication. So we drop down the times 12 here, and we drop down plus 3 times 2. So what we have left is 3 times 2 plus 12 times 2. So we've already did the subtraction, now we're moving on. So now, do we have any exponents? So we cross out the P. Here, what about the E? I don't see any exponents. Let's move on to the m. Oh, look, we do have two multiplication problems. We have 2 times 3, and then we have 2 times 2. No. 12 times 2. So what do? Well, I don't think that it really matters, which side that you do it on first and second, but we'll just go left to right anyway. So 2 for this problem. So 2 times 3 is 6, and then we still have the plus sign, so we drop down the plus, and then 12 times 2. So then we draw the line, and just like this. So that's basically how it is. So we still have 6 plus 12 times 2. And you can certainly make this a little bit less with 2 times 3, and then do the 12 times 2 in the same line, but we're not doing it that way. So 12 times 2 would be 24. So 24, and then plus 6. So we still have the plus 6, and all we have left to do is the addition. So now we move on. So there's no division or anything. So we move on to the A, which is going to be the addition. So 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. So the answer would be 30. So 2 times 3 plus 12, parentheses, 7 minus 5, would narrow down to 30. So now you can see how that works. So now we're going to do just one more example. I like even numbers. So, now, let's see here. So I'm just going to see what time it is. Okay. So, we have 5 divided by 10 minus 7 to the second power, so the little 2 up there, and then plus 9, and and that's basically all. And then and then we're not going to do any. Okay, well, 5 minus 3. So this one's a little bit longer, but this will be the final example. So if equation doesn't have parentheses, we just skip to that. So we follow the letters in order. What do we start out with? The P, parentheses. I can see parentheses. 5 minus 3, we solve it in the parentheses. Well, if you think about a number line, 5 and 3 are only 2 places away. So 4, 3, 2, you can do that with the touch points. Times 9 plus 7 to the second power minus 10 divided by 5. So every little step, one step, draw the line, narrow it down, as you can see though. I didn't draw the triangle for the last one, but I think that you saw how that basically looks by now. So now you've done the P. Now you want to do the E. You can't certainly draw parentheses in there. So now you move on to the E, which is the exponents. So something that looks like a number, the little number up there. So, we do have an exponent. So 7 with the 2 above it tells us how many times we want to multiply. Remember, it's always multiplying. So 7 times 7. 7 times 7. Obviously, 7 to the first power would just, would just be 7. 7 times 1. 7. So 7 times 7 would be 49. So then, we just do 5 divided by 10 minus 49, think of the 49ers, plus 9 times 2. Okay, so we have done that step, so we can cross the E off, because there was no one, you have to do everything, every little thing on that particular letter. So we've done every exponent. Now we're moving on to the M. The M stands for multiplication. So, there is a multiplication problem right here. There is a multiplication problem that we can see. It's really, about, knowing the difference. So you can't mix anything up. And if you do one single step wrong, one step out of the ordinary, then it affects your answer. It's kind of like a puzzle game. Okay, so 9 times 2. This is, we want to go exactly in order. So 9 times 2 over here is 18. We have the 18, and then we just drop the plus 49 minus 10 divided by 5. So I didn't see any multiplication left. Let's move on to division. We can see division problem, and it's at the, here. So we go from left to right naturally. So 5 divided by 10 would give us 2. So then we just drop the minus 49 plus 18 down. So then, did I do this right? Okay. So then you move on to the next steps. You want to do it exactly in order. So the A. So you've done the D, which is the divide. Then you move on to the A, which is the add. A stands for add. So we add 49 plus 18. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 4, 5, 6. Wait, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. 67. So 67 here. We have this all crossed out. We just crossed it out. We still have the minus 2 left. So we drop that down. And so, then we move on to the final letter, which is subtracting. So it always ends in subtraction unless there's no subtraction in the problem. So 67 minus 2 would be 65. And there you go. Voila. So that is the answer for that. So, I hope that you found that very, very informative. I have other things that I have to do today, so make sure you tune in for the next episode, which is going to be on inverse operations and like terms. So we're going to get into some algebra. So, thank you very, very much. Have a wonderful day, and let's hope that this video works.